We want to give our actors and our audience as much delicious pleasure as possible in what we're making. This is a real kind of joy for us to do that, isn't it? It's storytelling, really. So it comes out of telling each other the story, finding ourselves looking for a context to let our audience know pretty immediately that this is a play for today.
Starting with the opening scene of the show, the prologue, we have Shooty in a gorgeous pink dress. And Ray had drawn this gorgeous pink flowy moment. And it was like, okay, let's see what we can do with that.
I'm working on The Importance of Being Earnest, and I'm just about to cut out my pattern pieces to make the pink dress for Shooty. Although it's a dress, it's actually a skirt and a bodice with a kind of petticoat and bumhole on the inside. It'll all be joined together in the end, but it's 3-4 separate elements at the moment. It's not terribly complicated, but there is a little bit of a pattern in the fabric. So we've already found what we think is the centre of the pattern, but I don't know if you can see, but there are sort of slight lines running through it this way as well. So I need to make sure that those lines match all the way around the body. We based it loosely on a kind of period dress. We've got some images. Ray would really like it to be a little bit more mixed in with a modern feeling, and this particular outfit, it's a dream. So it can be not exactly the period. It's probably going to take somewhere in the region of about, I'd say about 80 to 90 hours in total. I've got 10 metres of fabric here to get the dress out of. It's a silk jacquard, which means that the pattern is woven into the fabric.
This is a really specific shade, and the reference was this Barbie popping pink. Luckily, we were in a position where we could kind of buy a nice white silk and then open up the idea of using the in-house textile studio. And they kind of pass back these shade cards of what they can dye to and what's possible with the fabric. In this case, we found this one, which became the one for Shooty.
We're going to use some silk organza behind it to give it some lift through the back of the bustle. This will make it look beautiful initially, but because it has got quite a lot of performances, then we usually sort of put something in just to kind of keep it in pristine condition. So we'll probably use a little bit of net that you'll never see, which is not terribly periody. Women's wear cutter, so quite often we do end up making dresses. It's lovely to make a period thing that you've seen a few times a little bit differently. And obviously I don't get to make dresses for men very often either, so that's also quite nice. It's quite nice to be in the fitting with a whole different set of rules, if you like, physically. So yeah, it's good.
With Ray's drawings, she leaves it quite open in a nice amount where it's like it can become something from conversation. And I guess that then informed the green suit, what Shooty wears next.
We're looking for a lovely green, mainly because the big revolution in Victorian technology in terms of costume and interiors was aniline dye, which were like these incredible colours, vivid greens, amazing blues.
It was, again, sampling and seeing what is possible, and then bringing in some of these florals as well, which is kind of a recurring theme. This is our lovely piece of fabric that we ended up choosing for Shooty's suit, which is gorgeous. You obviously have a bigger range of colours. I think what was really nice about this one is that the green is an accent, but from afar and whilst on stage, it will still read as this green, gorgeous luxury piece that he's wearing.
We were looking for something very debonair and very showy-offy.
This is the jacket after the fitting. So you can see the adjustments are being made, the waist is being dropped. This design is based on a jacket from sort of the late 19th century. So it has a bit of a skirt. It could have been longer, but we've modernized the design a little bit.
And you design all of these patterns?
Yeah, we draft them from scratch. So we have the sort of the designs, and then we'll take the measurements in the first place, draft paper patterns. There's the one for the skirt. You can see it's become much shorter than it was So Faye is just making the trousers. Usually one person will cut the whole outfit and one person will make a whole garment. And this we're very, very busy and we have to share individual parts of the garment.
Since you were last here, we have had a fitting with the actor. And since then, it's been assembly. It's been putting it together with all of its proper facings. The process we call pad stitching on the lapel. It's attaching the layers together, the canvas to the top fabric, and it creates this rolling effect that happens then naturally. And pockets are in, so you can't see it, but there is a pocket in there because of the pattern matching, and we've got a couple in the sides. And there's also one on the inside as well if the actor wants to put a hanky or something like that in there. We have done various amounts of pattern matching on here. We have the flower is in the same level. That flower there is all pattern matched. It starts to go off here because it's shaped. You can never get it everywhere because of all of the different shapes. I was just on the sewing machine a moment ago putting in what we call a gather stitch. There's this row of stitching along the top here. I feel roughly, depending on the difficulty of the sleeve, that it's about 4 hours.
I'm working on the bodice for Chuti's dress. First of all, the bodice has been obviously cut out, and then we flat tack everything, which is all of this. So I've just got one final seam to tack and the shoulders and then some boning to go in. In this costume, we're using spirals because the boning channels are slightly bent. There's a definite nod towards like the late Victorian era. But having said that, because of what's happening on stage, it's not as fitted as it would have been, and obviously it's for a man, so that impacts so it's not, completely historically accurate, but there is a nod in that direction. So I'm just going to do the shoulders up now, and then it will be ready to go on the stand. Sort of initially it was like, should we pattern match? And then the more we looked at it, the more unlikely it seemed to be achievable. But you can see this kind of is following through about the same height on the bodice. Because of it's Shuti wearing it, we've gone for left over right rather than right over left, which is the female way. We thought if he has to take it off on stage, it could be really tricky for him if something's suddenly the opposite. These things you don't even think about, do you, in life? And it's trying to make it as easy for him to act and not, be encumbered and confused by his costume. You can see on the skirt has the lovely bum pad and bustle area, and this will sit over the skirt when it's finished.
The silk organza is really light, so in that way you can make it a bit stronger and have it drapes nicely without it becoming really heavy.
Yeah, I'd say that's almost 2 meters long.
So today we're looking at Shuti's dress. So this is more like a expressive or emotional kind of outfit in which it's designed specially for his body. So it's to work with his femininity. So it's sort of like playing with the currents in his persona. He was very happy with the colour chosen because it looks nice on him. So we're looking for this kind of pink and a bit of peach, a bit of gold, this kind of lush idea of beauty, basically. There's a lovely opening here on the side. And here we've got most beautiful bustle structure made out of these. Is that lush? It's kind of sensual rather than structural. Sarah's found a very clever way of keeping to that, sensuality over structure. We're going for an idea of asymmetry, And then symmetry for the back here, which has bows and 2 tiered drops here. And we're putting the flowers here to enhance the bows. These flowers are set inside these kind of like lovely rushes of silk. And then inside the flowers we'll put tiny little crystals which will reflect the light at a distance.
The language of flowers was a language that the Victorians used to employ to send secret messages to their friends, their rivals, their partners, people they were interested in. So flowers did have a significance in the Victorian times, and specifically the ones that we're using to have that sort of nod to Oscar Wilde and his world would have been the green carnation, a symbol amongst a lot of young men, whether they were homosexual. And that was sort of a secret language that they developed around wearing the green carnation on their breast jacket. I think it's a historic nod, if anything, to Oscar Wilde.
We're thinking of flowers very much as a Victorian means of expression. Our flowers are bright, voluptuous, delicious, sensual, give us great pleasure. And as we go from the city into the country, they become more prominent and more like jewels, more like delicious cakes, you know.
It's gorgeous, and I think it'll have a life beyond this show, which is really important when you're making, can it be used again? And I think it's being made beautifully, the fabric's gorgeous. We're setting it up for a long future.
What we want to give our audience is a feeling of joy and pleasure in that.
Being sure to capture that queer joy.
Yeah.